We are on our worksheet, so make sure you have it pulled up either on your screen or printed out. We are starting with the flexible budget. Okay, so again, remember our flexible budget it gives us our budget within a range of sales units, okay? We could also do it within a range of production units, but we're doing it within a range of sales units and figuring out what is our net income going to be at different levels of sales. So we start with our fixed budget, and we probably pulled this straight out of the master budget. And our fixed budget is at 7,000 units. Okay, so that's what we've projected. We think we're going to sell 7,000 units. We will probably not sell 7,000. We might sell 7,050. We might sell 6,800. Who knows? But we're going to do a flexible budget at 3 different levels. We're going to do one at 6,000 units, which is probably what we think is the minimum we can sell. We're going to do one at 7,200, which I don't know, maybe we just think is a nice middle ground. And then one at 8,000, which we think is probably the highest amount we're going to be able to sell. All right, so the first step was to find our fixed budget, which we have. It's right here in column B. The next step is to determine if each of our costs are fixed or variable. So let's go through. So we're going to start with sales. Sales isn't a cost, but it is variable. So we'll go ahead and put it here. I could say fixed or variable, cost or price, but you know that gets super wordy. So hopefully you'll cut me a little slack there. All right, our direct materials are variable cost. They change based on how many we produce or how many we sell. Our direct labor is variable. That's going to change. If we sell more, then we'll have more direct labor costs and cost of goods sold. Production supplies, that's going to be our variable overhead, right? So if we make more, we'll need more supplies. If we don't make as many, then we won't need as many supplies. So it's variable. Our plant manager's salary. Our plant manager's salary is fixed. Okay, when we see the word salary, we're thinking fixed. So put that in there. All righty, our sales commissions, those are generally variable. Commissions are generally based on a percentage of sales. So if we sell more, our sales commissions will go up. So it's going to be variable. Packaging, again, our packaging costs will go up if we sell more because we'll need more packaging. So that's variable. It's a variable selling cost. And advertising. Our advertising is going to be fixed because advertising is usually done separately from sales. We usually advertise to try to generate sales. So our advertising budget isn't going to be tied to the amount we sell. It's probably set well before we sold anything. So that's fixed. Then we have our administrative salaries, which are fixed. A lot of times our admin costs are going to be fixed in our examples. Like in real life, you could be variable because you could have hourly employees. Our depreciation is going to be fixed. Insurance is going to be fixed. The exception to that would be if it was insurance on goods that we were shipping. And so by shipping more, you'd have higher insurance. But we're just going to assume it's like basic flood, casualty, theft kind of insurance. And our office rent, that will be fixed as well because those are costs. They don't change based on how much we sell. Our office rent's our office rent. Okay, so we've gotten our fixed budget. We've decided if each of our costs are fixed or variable. Now we're going to figure out our cost per unit, or in the case of sales, our price per unit. And we're simply going to do that by taking these total sales dollars in our fixed budget divided by the number of units we sold. And that tells us that we are selling our product for $400 a unit, right? So if we sold 7,000 units and made $2.8 million, then we must be selling our units for $400 a unit. We're assuming we're selling every unit for the same price. All right, so we'll do the same here. We take our direct materials cost of $280,000 when we sell 7,000 units and divide it by those 7,000 units. We're going to get $40 a unit. And we can do the same thing with all of our variable costs. So we'll take direct labor, 490,000, divide it by our sales units of 7,000. Now, if I want to lock in the denominator, you'll see I have the formula up here. I'm just going to, on my computer, it's function F4. On some computers, it may be just F4. I'm not sure how to do this on the Mac. So if you're driving a Mac today, then you may have to go to a help bar or something to find out. But that's how we're going to lock in the denominator. So if I do that, now I can just copy and paste my formula. for all of my variable costs, but they're all doing the same thing. They're taking a total cost and dividing it by this 7,000 units. And you can see that when you look at my formula. All right, so I'm only doing this for variable costs because I don't really have a cost per unit for my fixed when I go into flexible budgeting situation because my total fixed costs aren't going to change, which means my cost per unit will change. So I'm just going to want to carry those fixed costs over. All right, so now we are going to do our flexible budget for 6,000 units. So our fixed budget was at 7,000. Now our first flexible budget is going to be at 6,000 units. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our price per unit. We're selling for $400 a unit. And if we sell 6,000 units, we'll multiply by 6,000. And that gives us 2.4 million, right? So we made 2.8 million in sales when we sold 7,000 units. We're going to make 2.4 million in sales when we sell 6,000 units. And we can do the same thing for our costs. I'm going to multiply my $40 per unit of direct materials times 6,000 we're going to sell. And for direct labor, I'm going to multiply the $70 per unit by 6,000 units. Okay, and that gives me 420,000. So that I can basically do this now for all of my variable costs. Just copy that down. They're all going to be the exact same thing. Our cost per unit times 6,000 units. My fixed costs, I am just going to bring over as is because they're not going to change. No matter how many units I sell within my relevant range, my plant manager's salary won't change. So it's still 65,000. My advertising costs won't change. So they're still 125,000. My admin salaries are still 85,000. My depreciation is still 35,000. My insurance is still 20,000. And my office rent is still 36,000. All right. So now I've got my numbers and I can calculate my net income for 6,000 units. I'm going to start with my total cost of goods sold. I'll just add up all of my product costs. And I get cost of goods sold of 875,000. My net income is my sales of 2.4 million minus my cost of goods sold of 875,000. And I get gross profit of 1,525,000. I'm going to add up all my selling expenses, fixed and variable. And I'm going to get a total of 377,000. And I'm going to add up all of my admin costs, fixed and variable, and I'm going to get a total of 176,000. If I have any categories that have only fixed costs, this shouldn't change. So admin has all fixed costs. It was 176 at 7,000 units. It's 176,000 at 6,000 units. It doesn't change. Okay, only if all of our costs in that category are fixed. So now to calculate my net income, I'm going to take my gross profit and subtract my selling expenses, subtract my admin expenses, and I get net income from operations of 972,000. You can see my net income has gone down, which makes sense, right? Because I'm selling less units, it's profitable. So as long as I have a profitable operation, it makes sense that if I sell less, I'm going to make less sales and less net income. All right. So that is your flexible budget at 6,000 units. If you feel like I totally got this, I am rock solid, I would like you to go and do 7,200 and 8,000 on your own, and then come back and just fast forward to the end of the next video and check your answers. If you're like, nope, I want to hang out and do this with you side by side, Professor Black, then that's exactly what we're going to do. So in the next video, we'll do our flexible budget for 7,200 and 8,000 units. We'll see you then.